Hi again guys, it's Nick, and it's no secret that I love the N64 and the great games that came with it. It was the first console that I owned, and it's a console that I still play on quite a bit to this day. Most of the N64 games were done for the channel. It was because that I was bugging the group, and I was really wanting them to show some of the games some love. So before I start this, I just want to point out that this is just my opinion. Other viewers probably grew up with different games, and they would put other games higher or lower. So I just want to repeat, this is my opinion. For the veterans of our channel, these games that are going to be shown might not come as a surprise, but anyway, here we go. Here are my top Nintendo 64 games. Starting at the list at number 10 is Starfox 64. For those of you who remember my Bomberman 64 review, I talked about visiting my cousin at a young age where I played multiple games that made a lasting impression on me. One of those games was Starfox 64. Now this game was cool. I never remember flying in a plane before I played this game, but now I can both fly one and shoot bad guys? It's awesome! The controls weren't hard to figure out and the bosses were really enjoyable to face. I never actually beat it at my cousin's house, but when I picked it up on the Wii Virtual Console, I must have done about 4 different runs of it just to see which path was the most fun for me. But sadly, I have to admit, I never did beat my sister's high score. Pokemon. Young me was obsessed with the series, so it's no surprise that Pokemon Stadium and Pokemon Stadium 2 make the list. Talking about Pokemon, bugging my parents to get that stuffed Pikachu at that local Blockbuster, breakfast food in the shape of Pokemon, mainly pancakes. Imagine how it looked when I finally saw them in 3D. They looked real, and you can battle with them too. My neighborhood friends and I played the crap out of this game. The mini-games were amazing. The battles were extremely lifelike for the time, and there was even an announcer. And you could play the original games on the big screen. I loved every bit of the games, and it was one of the first games I ever completed all the way. I like the games equally, so they both deserve this spot. Coming up at number 8 is Mario Parties 1, 2, and 3. And now if I had to pick a favorite of these, I would have to say Mario Party 3 is mine. Anyway, this was the game that I could play with just about anyone. This game was accessible to everybody, even my random cousins that lived all the way, 500 miles away from me. We would play this game too, and it was so much fun. No matter who I was with, it was always fun. You might hate them a little bit at the end of it, especially if they talk crap, but you know what? I didn't care. I always had fun playing these, and Mario Party 3 had the best mini games by far. Fight me in the comments. Breaking up the formula from here is number 7 with Tony Hawk Pro Skater. Now I will confess something to you all. I had absolutely no idea how to play this game when I was younger. I would get confused and switch to a game that was easier and to understand pretty quickly. When I was in high school though, I picked it back up to see if I could finally understand it, and I was so happy that I did. The music was still amazing, the levels were all unique and fun. The objectives weren't too crazy, there were some difficult ones in the later stages, mainly with the secret tapes, but it had me absorbed when I was playing the game. I wanted to complete everything, even if it took me multiple playthroughs of the same level. It isn't a game that lasts long at all, but I loved it more when Big Mike even started showing me some of the cool tricks he found. I kept getting my butt kicked in the multiplayer from there, but who really cares? The creativity in multiplayer, just push it ahead and give it the number 7 spot. Super Smash Bros. Now, I just talked about how I love the creativity in Tony Hawk Pro Skater, so you know I'm gonna mention it here. This game started the dynasty of one of Nintendo's most successful game franchises, and I hopped along for the ride way back in my youth. I wasn't even allowed to play this game when I was younger, which kinda sucked, so if my mom ever sees this, it was kinda sad that she didn't let me play the game, but who cares? Unlike any of the other fighting games that I played, this game never had those crazy set inputs to perform the optimal quote-unquote combos, and in big tournaments today, they're still having crazy combo contests for this game. There's still so much more to explore. I got a lot of enjoyment playing this game with friends, and it's actually one of the first games that me and Eric started playing that we got really good at. Interest in this series even got me to commentate at local tournaments. I can talk about this game series forever, but all you need to know is that it impacted me in my life in a way that I did not expect. Bomberman 64 comes up at number 5. I did a review on it. Big Mike and I did a Let's Play of it. I was kind of sad to see that there wasn't as much of an interest to continue the Let's Play, but that's neither here or there. I compensated by playing it, not for recordings. And again, to check out the review to hear a little bit more on this. But this game has more sentimental meaning to me as it really sparked my hobby of gaming. The gameplay here fit in really well into the 3D model, and I really wish there was a game similar to this one. I know there's been some other Bomberman games, but Bomberman Hero, Bomberman 64 2 or something like that, and it was just, they didn't match up to what I thought was amazing about Bomberman 64. It was just too short for me for the game. And when we're talking about memory, psychologists say that you remember the things at the beginning and at the end of the period the best. And this definitely happened to me when I'm playing games. I remember Bomberman 64 and the immense amount of enjoyment that it actually brought me when I was first starting this gaming journey. Coming up at number 4 is Paper Mario. To start off here, I probably beat this game around 6 or 7 times. Yeah, Bomberman 64 might have sparked my enjoyment in gaming as a whole, but Paper Mario sparked my interest in RPGs. And if you know me now, I used to talk about a lot of RPGs. We had the cartridge game, my sister ended up selling it, I'm still mad about that. Then we got the Wii U Virtual Console version, and then we went to a vintage game store to get the cartridge copy again. So we had 2 copies. Everything about this game was fun for me. I didn't care that I had 2 copies. The story was hysterical, the partners were memorable, and the badge and battle system let you play the games in so many different ways. It showed me a whole genre that I didn't even play to that point. I beat the game so many times because it was as close to an RPG that I could get at that point. Since then, I've went on and played other more complicated RPGs that I could get, but my roots are in this game. I recommend this game to almost anyone who asks for another N64 game for a reason. I think everyone should play this game. Number 3 is Diddy Kong Racing, and I know I said that I think everybody should play Paper Mario, but not everybody should play Diddy Kong Racing. I personally love it, and in my mind it actually is better than Mario Kart 64, and again, this is just my opinion. The controls are far from perfect though, and the hovercraft is very hard to understand even after playing the game for a while. I didn't care. I played Mario Kart before, then I moved on to Diddy Kong Racing, and now there's 3 different ways to get through the levels. On top of that, there's boss battles and silver coin missions to offer more of a challenge. And the boss gave me a little trouble when I was replaying this game recently too. But this was the game that was developed by Rare that I was crazy about. I never owned Donkey Kong 64 until now, or Banjo-Kazooie, but I had Diddy Kong Racing. I loved the overworld, the different characters, the tracks all being themed differently, and my favorite part was the battle levels where you even got to go after like the dinosaur eggs and the bananas. I even thought about speedrunning this game for a while after unlocking TT, which was way harder than I thought initially. I personally love the game, and that's why it's so high on this list, but I can understand why people would go with Mario Kart 64 as the superior racing game. Pokemon Puzzle League. You saw it on my top 5 list for a reason. Everything I talked about up to this point, about why these games make this list, is really shown in this game. A good difficulty increase as you progress, like Bomberman 64 and Diddy Kong Racing, a competitive multiplayer like Tony Hawk Pro Skater, and Pokemon nostalgia. I love puzzle games like Tetris and Dr. Robotnik's Mean and Bean Machine so dang much, and it's sadly a genre that seems to be decently neglected nowadays. The first one that got me in this genre was Pokemon Puzzle League. It made me think about a different way to beat the game, and there really wasn't a cheap way to get through the levels. You just had to learn how the game worked. I watched the show growing up, and that just enhanced my enjoyment with the Puzzle League game. When I play it now, nostalgia hits me like a freaking truck. The characters and music just transport me to a different world. A carefree world where my biggest decision was watching SpongeBob or Fairly Odd Parents. I must admit though, my sister can still beat me in this game though. Man, she's like my gaming kryptonite. I love Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time for different reasons. For Majora's Mask, I like the dark story, the time mechanic, the side content, and definitely the mask transformations. Swimming as a Zora or kicking butt with the Fierce Deity mask was absolutely badass. Sadly, I didn't like the dungeon design as much. Not to say they weren't good, I just personally liked Ocarina of Time's dungeons better. Again, my opinion. On top of that, Ocarina of Time also drew me in with going back and forth between the time for some dungeons, the open world size, the exploration of the world. Majora's Mask was amazing, I loved the game, but I just put Ocarina of Time higher. When I got the GameCube, it came with the Zelda's Collector's Edition disc, and that was one of the first games that I had with it for a pretty long time. So I stumbled upon Ocarina of Time, and I was completely lost. It was my first Zelda game, and I'm sure you guys can relate to this, and honestly, I actually didn't like it at first. Navi was annoying, the weird owl kept showing up at random times, and I never really understood the point of the weird potato instrument that I had. Luckily, my opinion changed quickly after I got past that first dungeon. I was avoiding the guards to talk with Princess Zelda, dodging the falling rocks of Death Mountain, and blowing stuff up with my bomb bag. With each additional item, my experience got better, and it even fueled my need for the puzzles within the dungeons. Most just followed the Zelda pattern of using the dungeon item, but there were still different ways of using the item that I didn't think of initially when I got it. The game quickly grew on me, and halfway through the Forest Temple, I was having the time of my young life. Then I was in Ganon's Tower, and each part of the barrier was unique to the temples that went through. My mind was blown. This was actually one of my complaints I have about Wind Waker was that boss rush that they had, but that's a different story. You can say that the game was revolutionary and whatnot, and it definitely was, but to me, it was the introduction to one of my favorite game franchises. Because of this game, I judge Zelda games to a ridiculously high standard, and they have delivered on so many of the games though. It's very rare that I find a Zelda game that I don't instantly love now, which honestly has really only been Phantom Hourglass. But Ocarina of Time opened the door for me to this. Let me know what you think of my picks. It was really hard to narrow it down to just 10 games. So I included some honorable mentions as well. Check that out in the description. Let us know if you have any suggestions on what you'd like to see for our channel as well. But till then, see you next time.